Okay, so you want to talk about sterile? I have been for gamete storage purposes in the NHS jerking off room, which is like it's like a kind of tiny like Guna bunker in the room, like in the bowels of your local hospital, some subterranean like basement sub-level 5 or whatever.
Mine had a window, which I
Oh,
didn't
you had
like.
a luxury. You had a window. I was in an entirely like vinyl and formica room with no windows, with a drop ceiling, with a lazy boy that felt like it was bolted to the floor, and a collection of like the worst pornography I've ever seen. Like magazines directly out of the 1970s.
They were just like, use your phone, and I was like, I don't want.
I ended up using my phone, but I was in like the sub basement Guna bunker, so I couldn't even get fucking signal. So I was just like looking at this, like this is a very first of all, this is a very kind of normative sexually sort of like sexual orientation selection of pornography here. It's very heterosexual. First of all, do you have anything a bit less awful? And also it's you know aesthetically quite dated in a way that I
was you walking to the lobby being like, do you have anything more modern? Like I'm
right now. So like the NHS, our beloved socialist medical system, pays for you to store gametes for like 2 years, right? And then you have to make your mind up, and then they start charging you. And I kind of want to, because they've given me the letter being like, what do you want to do about this? We have your cum in a freezer. Start paying us for it. And I almost want to write it and be like, I paid already. I paid in the most like emotionally alienating wank of my life. Like it felt like I came out of that room kind of like stripped down to my soul. It was like a confessional. It was bad. I just yeah, we should do a sync point so that the audio works. Hi, Devin.
I was about to say all of that was recorded.
Good. Okay, fine. I don't care. That's fine.
Nova, you've killed me. Someone else has also been in the NHS goon dungeon twice. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least they didn't make me go back. At least they were happy with whatever kind of. They refused.
Oh no! I had to go back. I had to go back, sister.
I chose to go twice because I was like, I'm doing a backup advanced freeze just in case I don't perform on the day.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a bad thing to do, and it meant that I just was in the very odd. It had an emergency button, which I just was
hit that.
How bad could a wank be that you need to hit an emergency button?
It's also there's something about this like.
Can you bring me like a diet Pepsi, please? Just like mid-stroke.
There's something about the procedure of the NHS wank where it's like they have so clearly had to design a procedure that is like proof against you flashing the nurse, right? Because you are jerking off, and so they anticipate a certain level of perversion, and so it's very much like, no, you have to like come out of the room fully clothed, and we will mention this to you in detail. It's like, okay, don't treat me like some kind of gooner just because you want my cum. We should do the sync point.
The emergency button must be like if you need to end the wank really quickly. So it shows you a picture.
When I slap my hand on the balls, I'd like you to bring the wank to a controlled stop.
Yeah.
I might have dropped a picture of the panic alarm.
It says panic alarm. Okay.
Yeah. It immediately flashes a picture of the most unsexy thing you can think of. I don't know, probably Henry Kissinger or something.
Clarkson just appears. Yeah.
Awful.
I'm just imagining the nurse like coming on the intercom. Are you okay? No, I'm having a stroke. Yeah, that's the point. No, I'm having a stroke.
Oh dear, this isn't going to be the short one I thought it was, is it? Oh, crikey. And that's not related to what people say in the Goon Cave either.
We have MA on the Discord, so perhaps this was all wasted.
No, I think MA can just join.
MA can just join. That would be ideal. And then we do the sync point. So all of my advocacy for the sync point is it's a sunk cost fallacy.
Did you join?
Join or die.
Join or die. Yeah.
Or die. My mic is in my way.
Oh wait, I think we're all here.
Hi, Emma.
I joined. Oh god. Sorry, I was finishing a thumbnail about Maduro and I got mixed up. Sorry.
It's all good.
Finding the most ominous possible picture of Trump.
Oh Lord!
Please no.
Oh, that's a cornucopia of images that just
Yeah.
from there. Yeah.
I think the classic there is the one that he chose as his second
the
term
portrait.
where he's just,
It's just his shoulders are cut off, so I had to like mess with them. Just also I fit the World Cup thing in there because my pitch is that Mexico should leave the World Cup in protest because this is some Berlin Olympics shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's truly some Berlin Olympics shit.
Oh yeah, big time.
Anyways, I'm here. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
It's totally fine. Don't worry.
We were just all talking about jerking it, so it's
that is literally true.
Yeah. But in a clinical setting.
Yeah. Hey, MA, what's your worst jerk story, bud?
My worst jerk story. We don't have HIPAA here, so I don't think I can tell it.
Yeah, no, it's this was born of the discovery that no fewer than 3 of us have had to like jerk off for medical reasons in a hospital, and so like this led to anecdotes. Anyway, if we can get local recordings going and then do a sync point, perhaps we can start the podcast about the thing where a lot of people died. You know, that'll be a nice shift in tone.
Yeah, I know.
I forgot. That's why we were gathered here today.
We gathered here today because like more than a dozen people were killed. Yeah.
We're gonna get yelled at. We're gonna get yelled at.
Entirely predictable fashion. But we were here talking about creating life.
That is Nixonian level spin. I like that.
Okay, Justin, do you want to lead us in prayer?
I'm going to say 3, 2, 1,
point.
Mark. You're going to clap. 3, 2, 1, Mark. All right.
I fucked up one.
That's fine. It just needs to be close enough.
Yeah.
And I guess we can do the podcast.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides.
And a huge cast.
We do them. Yeah, and a huge cast. And usually we do disasters after they happen. In this case, we predicted one before it happened, and it happened. Anyway, I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I am November Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Yay, Liam. Hi, my name is Liam McAnderson. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the person talking right now. And we have just a litany of guests, frankly.
Three whole guests.
Three whole guests.
Decide amongst yourselves who is guest one.
Okay, as the person who inadvertently talked first, I'll say my name. No, in fact, I won't. Emma is here. Emma, introduce yourself.
Oh, I guess. Hi, I'm Emma Flores. They, them, ella if you speak Spanish. With an X if you're nasty.
Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Scooter.
I got it. Hi, I'm Angry Scooter. Pronouns are he, they.
And I'm Gareth Dennis, the guy who's kind of is definitely a guest, who was once a host. It gets very confusing, but it's a delight to be here. My pronouns are he and him.
Yeah, sort of host emeritus.
The only qualified person here, so very needed host.
Yeah, and doesn't Mexico let me know about it in my mentions? Crikey, we'll get there.
Yeah.
See, you get it in the mentions. I get it in the DMs. I don't know why they all come to me that way, but it's always the DMs, and they're like trying to gotcha me.
My DMs are turned off for what the fuck is that, Roz?
That was a big sneeze.
Bless you.
Yeah,
so it's kind of it's like a kind of a news brief episode where it's just we talk about this thing that happened. If you want some context, some essential context, then you got to go back and listen to the episode we did about the Interoceanic Corredor.
Yes. I guess the whole episode is the goddamn news.
Do you want? Yeah. Okay.
Oh. Fuck, that's loud. Jesus
very
Christ. Jesus
Is
Christ.
it? Sorry, I'm sorry. It
That's
shouldn't
just
be.
how bad the news are.
I've changed no settings. That's baffling to me. Okay, well,
Still optimized for the live show. I don't know.
Big sound for big news.
Yeah.
Big
yeah,
news.
I guess so.
Big news. Yeah, we're it's
So,
yeah, but
the Corredor Interoceanico train in Mexico along the isthmus there derailed and killed 14 people now.
Jesus, is it up to 14?
It's up to 14 now, yeah.
Yeah, as of 1/7/26 at 5:08 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Because boy, howdy, is this an updating situation.
I was about to say, there's still very much a lot of things are in flux. I figured it would be good for us to talk about it because we did sort of predict something like this would happen on this particular railroad. But don't take anything here as like, you know, the gospel, right? We're gonna try not to make like any crazy predictions or crazy speculation or anything, but we will shoot down other people's crazy speculation.
Yeah, this is the thing that I want to upfront. This is lots of people were shouting at me and us of saying, wait, but you're walking back from what you said back in the podcast. It's like, no, we weren't. In the original recording, we were talking about all of the crazy shit that could happen because of how this whole caboodle has been set up. What we were doing when there's actually been an incident is then debunking all the bullshit that people were then saying was the cause. It's very different. Like, the point is that we were projecting forwards into the future, something that could happen based on the information that we knew and had understood 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now we're debunking stuff because at the time, 3-4 days ago, when Twitter was very hot on this before the US invaded Venezuela, more on that later in this episode.
Not according to Polymarket.
Well, Polymarket, you're right. Yeah, thanks Polymarket for denying all those horrible men some money. That's good. Lots of people getting very excited, picking everything they can, but we had no information. There was no information. Therefore, you could not say most of what was being said. And unfortunately, what we said in the podcast was being misconstrued as a result. So just want to upfront that. That's partly why we're doing this episode.
Yeah, most of what we said in the podcast was stuff that was happening in real time, and a lot of it has changed since 3 years ago. A lot can change in 3 years.
We were kind of focused on what we thought was the kind of most likely way it could go wrong, which is not inevitably the way it actually did.
Yeah,
and noticeably, AMLO is alive.
AMLO is alive. Yeah.
once AMLO finished his term and was not assassinated, I was like, okay, cool. I can actually go to Mexico now. This will be lovely. I get to do my whole tourist thing. And now I don't know. It's up in the air again.
I don't even know who the enemy is for us anymore.
I've been to Mexico in the intervening years between that one and this one, and I have yet to be assassinated as far as I know.
So good news.
I was busy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll get there's lots to cover.
Can I do a quick disclaimer?
Yeah, go.
Yes.
Angry Scooter, I am here as myself, not representing anyone or anything, and I only am here as an expert opinion on this opinion piece journalism.
Yeah, none of us represent anything to the best of our knowledge.
Speak for yourselves. I represent Network Rail and the British government. It is the official line of Network Rail, of Jeremy Westlake, the CEO of Network Rail, and all of the board of Network Rail. No, of course I'm bullshitting. Don't sack me again. This is absolutely my opinion, but it happens to be there are several quite informed. I mean, it's a whole bunch of informed people on here, but this gets into my wheelhouse a lot. This incident, yeah.
So first, we have to ask, what is the Corredor Interoceanico?
Go back and listen to the episode the first time. What if we did some more development with a capital D by building this railway?
Yeah. And the thing I don't think I said enough last episode, this is a good idea. It is a good idea to have this railway connection. And none of us really thought that it was a bad idea. We were unhappy about way that it was being done. But it is a good idea to have this railway, right? It makes sense.
I'm not in love with the idea, but there's worse. Like this is like just a straight up improvement from Tren Maya, in my opinion. Like that one does. That serves no purpose. This one serves some purposes. Purposes I am not sure I'm aligned with, but it serves them. It hypothetically could. And that's there a lot has happened in the years since that the podcast that was really good. Honestly, surprised, but like November, your pronunciations were on spot. I just wanted to drop that in.
Nice.
Beaming. I'm beaming.
Yeah.
I got a good grade in podcast.
And like lots of the things we did predict. Yeah, lots of the things we did predict, like the HSTs getting their nose smashed, we'll talk about that later, did and have happened several times in quite large ways. So, like, we did predict successfully lots of other things, which unfortunately have happened, but haven't led to fatalities.
But the really short version of this is like they were going to connect the now Gulf of America in Veracruz with the Pacific and compete with the Panama Canal by shipping stuff by train.
This is the idea, is that you're going to have some kind of competition with the Panama Canal here, because you're going to build some kind of magical railroad that can haul the same amount as a huge container ship, and you're going to massively upgrade the ports, and that's going to somehow you're going to be able to include the cost of an extra ship and 2 transloads, and it'll be competitive with the Panama Canal. Somehow you're going to, I don't understand at all how this was supposed to work. It sort of made sense in terms of, well, we're going to do a lot of industrial development along the line, which will have easy access to both the Gulf of America and the Pacific Ocean.
And it does have in common with Tren Maya the Morena and more specifically AMLO's thing of hold still, you are being developed, right? Yeah. You are being sort of economically uplifted.
Yeah.
And stop resisting.
That did not look good on the ground in lots of different ways.
But in specifically, they also put the Navy in charge of this. And
famously, trains famous for going on water.
Yeah, well, again, if you kind of think about, we talked about all this, but the like internal politics of like you have to give the military something to do that isn't like getting in gunfights with drug dealers, and then also it makes it like sort of harder to criticize from the right, and you get some sort of buy-in from the military as an institution, and then all of that spirals directly to them trying to kill Scusa.
Because there's speaking about the conservatives, like the one thing that you need to know from when the podcast came out and today is that AMLO won a total cultural victory. Every single conservative in Mexico, they have like AMLO derangement syndrome, predictably. It's the only thing they talk about. Well, maybe they have like a week to talk about foaming at the mouth about Sheinbaum getting kidnapped like Maduro, but they basically have no answer for him. They only say vote for us, we're not that guy, while that guy had 70% approval. It's pathetic. But what that means is that their campaign promises were to keep everything AMLO did. No one's pushing an alternative like view to how to develop the South, or if we should be developing the South. The only question is, should we do it AMLO's way with the army, or the conservative way also with the army, but I don't know, make it like a riot shirt? Like there's no just make it more neoliberal somehow, like privatize it from the ground up. There's really
you could sell this line to Canadian Pacific, Kansas City.
Oh god.
Yeah, exactly. And well, the big problem with AMLO is like it never made sense to me, because he was, with this cultural victory, he was assured that Morena was going to win for like at least 1 or 2 elections. He could have done this like as a 12-year thing, Like they did not need to rush this.
Yes.
It's even when the things could be implemented correctly, where they could have talked to the locals, make them be invested in this. They could have done that, but the the core of this thing was, well, the premise of the last podcast. The AMLO was gonna wave like Queen Elizabeth on his very special train that might or might not blow up. But
it's relatable. Everyone wants to get to like play with their own special train set, and he wanted to get it done. And I also you sympathize in the sense of like maybe you want to sort of inject some urgency and not let the thing get sort of like bogged down. Sure, but in
the process of delivering this very quickly,
well, they also had to deliver this very quickly because it was all covered to get freight trains.
Yes.
This whole project was, here, I will give you a passenger train if you shut up about the freight trains.
Yeah.
And that they succeeded. They got their passenger train. And the freight trains have quietly been running in the background.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, what was ultimately delivered here was an okay rehab of an existing railway that was built in 1907.
It's like describing something as three-dimensional chess, but instead it's three-dimensional transport fever too.
Yeah.
No, you never want to hear that sentence.
This is not like a super gold-plated project like Tren Maya was. This was done very, very cheaply. And you can see, they didn't even stop running trains on it when they were rehabbing the track, which was a problem because it just destroyed all the track they just rehabbed.
Or dehabs the track, if you like.
Yeah. But this was 3 years ago as they were finishing the project.
Yeah.
Yeah, time has passed in the intervening. There have been intervening years, and we'll get to some of that when we look at some of the pictures from this track.
It's been 3 years.
It's been 3 years, yeah. But most of the railroad is just relaying the existing single track railroad in place. The only substantial new construction that at least I could find, admittedly, I'm not on the ground. I was just looking on Google Maps. Was bypassing the market in Tehuantepec. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong.
No, you nailed it.
Okay.
I'm sitting on my good grade from earlier. I'm not even going to try and venture it.
Yeah.
Nope, me either.
But yeah, this is sort of a brand new, like 1907 railroad they built. It goes beyond that.
This Navy still builds railroads the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very Trumpian in that sense because Trump is obsessed with building things from the early 1900s like battleships.
Yeah.
Really the old-fashioned way, like core army of engineers, like type shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think some emphasis should be placed on this though. So here are two features that railroads have: signals and crossing gates. Right?
Yes.
So
Go on.
yeah, signals are there to provide visual reminders to the engineer not to crash his train into another train.
Well, I mean, it's very easy to get distracted and do that. I mean, that is unironically true. Like
that is true, yeah. Well, that's why you have backups like train orders and so on and so forth, right? That's why everyone has very, very strong knowledge of the route and everything like that.
Yeah, but it sort of guards against your sort of like it's your last line of defense. Plus, if you have a sort of like very ADHD neurodivergent engineer, like for instance I would be, it's very helpful to have a big sign that says, "Hey, don't crash the train." Just like sign that says "lock in." Yeah,
and if your railway is built to standards from the 1950s onwards, looking at you all of North America, then you also have secondary protection systems that go, okay, you've not seen the signal, well, you idiot, now I'm going to break the train for you.
Yeah.
So those, or you've got an overspeed, for example, and the system will go, oh, your train's going too fast. We're applying the brakes, you idiot. Like these technologies have existed.
Sorry, do you mean the stuff that I have to turn off every time I play Train Sim because it annoys me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch off
Yeah.
AWS, switch off
Stop
TPWS.
fucking beeping at me. I don't want to press Q every 15 seconds.
So if Alex had been driving this train, I'm so sorry, November. So if November had been driving this train, she would have just bought one of those Amazon's click thingies to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the seatbelt warning light disabler. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. With the Punisher logo. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh Lord!
There's a bumper sticker on the rear cab that says "No seatbelts, we die like men."
I had a buddy with a Volvo 240 who.
Don't even get me started on arguing about seatbelts on trains. That's been a topic recently.
Pornhub casting cab.
Fake train.
Now let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah. This is interesting discussion wise. Yeah, okay.
Having signals is sort of a prerequisite for most of the more advanced safety systems that, again, most railroads, especially if you're building them new with infinite social democracy money, you probably should have.
Yes.
Yeah, and to add, signals not only tell you there's another train ahead of you and the speed you should be going, they also tell you if the rail's broken ahead of you because the communication goes through the track. An important
if you've got track circuits, I mean, you might for a long system railway like that, you might have something that's treadles rather than track circuits, which doesn't necessarily detect it. But yeah, one of the upshots of electric track circuits is that if you get a rail break, there's a likelihood that that will be noticed by the signaling system and all the signals will go red. For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, you save a lot of time and energy in like railway children type situations where somebody has to sort of like run down an embankment waving a red flag.
Petticoats. Yeah, exactly. Quite.
Yeah. So this was the Interoceanico was a substantial railway rehab, which occurred in the year of our Lord 2022. 23, I forget.
God, back when I was in my early 30s, God.
Which had no signaling system and still does not to this day, I believe.
Oh, good.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's all dark territory. It's run on train orders, and I would assume they have radio. I don't know. This is to the best of my knowledge.
It's like everybody can spring for like a box of Baofangs and a charger at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine.
Yeah, they do have radio across the system.
Okay, well that is a good start.
It is a start.
Right.
That then immediately begs the question: why don't they just put cheap ass like train identifier tech in the trains? You could just get a box that hooks over the lamp hook that can do signaling like in about 24 hours. You can have a signaling system. Why do that? Mexican government, phone me back again. Oh, okay. Brief little thing.
Do that here. Welcome to America.
Trying to find the lamp hook on an HST. Like,
they have one. You open the little flap at the front. You take its pants off. It has a little square thing you take off its fiberglass nose, and you can see its single donger behind it. Briefly, here's a little fun thing. Briefly, I was advising the Mexican government after the podcast. I think possibly off the book rather than the podcast, but I was doing that briefly, which was fun. So I have a family again, just to remind you.
No, I'm the only one without a family.
In between recording that episode and recording this episode, I did get divorced. So arguably I am more assassinatable now. But I don't know.
Roz is a single man. Kill Roz first.
So
arguably, like Roz is like the officer, right? So like you want to assassinate him first, and that way the whole kind of like organization falls into disarray.
Just don't tell Claudia you're a trans woman.
I stealth added a slide to show what crossing protection they still have down there.
Yeah. Oh, crap. I hope that's in here because
man with gun.
Yeah, because I'm doing this from a downloaded PowerPoint. But anyway, they have whatchamacallit, or railroads have crossing protection, right? You have the gate that comes down, the bell rings.
And you drive around it like an asshole, right?
To like automate any of this shit. You barely even need electricity. You can have a gate that a guy raises and lowers by hand, and he lives next to the thing, and his job is to raise and lower the thing.
Which seems to be standard procedure here. Like guys standing around.
Sort of a different philosophy here, right? Because I assume, Scooter, you must have added this on the next slide, right?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back over here. They just have guys stand around with machine guns.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I like doing it. I'm American.
Yeah.
Yeah, if ever you doubted that Mexico was part of North America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They have Train Ice, who sits there and guards the crossing.
yeah.
Appropriately named.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly kind of like the reason we are not getting invaded right now is that, and that it was redirected, is that we were very forthcoming with aid towards stopping the caravans and shit. And part of it was we just built a bunch of trains in the middle of put guys with guns. And well, if they happen to see a caravan coming, well, that's kind of the thing that made people angry about these projects to begin with. That they seem to have a dual purpose, and they seem to be working in that dual purpose to the. Well, there's a reason you can see a Maduro mugshot with him smiling ear to ear for some reason, and not a Claudia Sheinbaum one. But yeah, again, this means that they do have a guy standing around based infrastructure.
I mean, it's also like if you look at the map again, it traverses southern Mexico. It's a border. It's also an internal border. Like,
I do. This has a dual purpose of like, you know, okay, it's infrastructure, but it's also an excuse.
Yeah, Mexico built the wall. We are the wall.
Got to have guys standing around with machine guns everywhere.
Jobs program.
Yeah, jobs program, also a backhander to like whoever supplies the like assault rifles, wherever they're buying the kind of like sort of like tactical
Muammar Gaddafi's corpse, come on down.
Yeah, exactly.
I think another aspect that's interesting here, this railroad, of course, well, it has no signal, so it has no centralized traffic control, which also means, of course, the whole thing is hand throw switches. You know,
oh boy.
There's no automatic switches. Like some people were theorizing this derailment could be because of terrorism. It's like, no, you have all hand throw switches. You could just run any train anywhere just by walking up to a switch and, you know, pulling the handle.
Also suggests some kind of like Central American solid snake sort of getting past every single cop that's standing around every like railroad crossing.
And like, that would have been the most boring Metal Gear Solid game ever. Like, what's the purpose here for a terrorist? What are they getting out of it? That's something I cannot understand. Both sides of the Mexican political divide are just flailing at trying to blame this on either misreading y'all's work, to be quite honest. They're not very they're not very good at independent research. Or I've seen some Morena-aligned conspiracy theories that are wild. I've seen people think this is like a Spanish operation. I've seen people, I've seen people accuse this was Spain's doing for some reason. I think they got mad at us for because AMLO told them that the conquista was a bad thing. Because which was kind of like the only woke thing he did in his presidency, the colonial AMLO king. But I saw people blame the wife of murdered politician Carlos Manso, which would be kind of like saying that like blaming Erika Kirk for this.
Yeah,
makes no fucking sense.
What?
I was trying to explain this sort of briefly the other day, and I was like, no, you don't understand that like if you're on the right wing, what you want to have happened here is that either AMLO or Sheinbaum like caused the train to derail by making it have pronouns.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, and that's my biggest issue with the conspiracies that the right wing caused this. That this was like a. First of all, it's inviting. Honestly, it's playing with fire, because if you start throwing the word terrorist around, well, doesn't that give credence to Trump's narco-terrorist framework?
All of
that's
the news,
really scary to me.
all the news outlets on Twitter are using the word narco-terrorist like it's the letter A.
It's scary. Like again, I'm not a fan. I'm not the biggest Chamberlain fan. She's not the biggest fan of me. but I don't want to see her kidnapped. Like we don't need we don't need like 7 Salvador Allende's a year. Like this, it's not tenable. And so yeah, I don't think throwing the word narco-terrorist around is a thing that we should be doing at all. And again, for this to be something that the right wing would even consider doing, well, they would need to see Oaxacan lives as something worth anything, which they don't. They really don't care about, brown people.
Well, do you know? Because all the news I was looking is just blaming everybody and everything. Apparently, Ferromex is having quite a bit of torch cutting incidents and people pulling rails. Is that political or is that just people?
I don't think it's political. I think it's people trying to rob trains. Okay. And that's also, if the freight train was the one that derailed, okay, maybe there's something there. But who the hell is robbing a passenger train? Is this the Old West? Are they?
It's like also sort of like deriving from this that Scotland has a serious problem with narco-terrorism, and John Swinney should get like black bagged because someone's stealing the overhead like the overhead wire.
And again, if I was a robber, I would not go to the train tracks that consist mainly of guys with guns. I would go to the private one that's cost cutting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And especially where it is too, but we'll get to that. Like, good fucking luck getting out there to do something.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do a terrorism on a train, and I have to point this out when it comes to like Eurostar bullshit security, you can just stand on a hill and shoot the train from a distance. You don't need to do all this elaborate bullshit.
You have a family.
Long deep here.
Yeah, there might be some redaction. You can just do that. You don't need to go do all the elaborate shit. You can just do that. Anyway,
again, hand throw switches. This is how some dumb teenagers flung a New Jersey Transit commuter train into a pasta factory in the 80s.
Well, there's also
the soft landing.
Those idiots in the Midwest that threw the switch and ran the train into the grain silo. Like, it's just, you can just do that.
Yeah. This whole railroad.
You cannot do that in the UK. There are not many places where you can successfully do that. We have basically controlled all of it centrally.
Also, like the last podcast, November said something about you should not run this train to Chiapas because it will be the most bombed tracks. I would like to say Capitan Marcos had plausible deniability because like they were on camera at the time of the derailment.
I was on Facebook Live.
Yeah, the scientists were having like a full-on conference with talks and stuff. They do that thing every New Year's because it's the anniversary of their rising. So yeah, this was not. I don't see anything that could be sabotaged from really anything political. I don't even think this was a false flag from Morena. Like, this seems to be just a purely thing that could be explained by. It doesn't seem to be political at all.
Yeah,
which is great because it confounds everyone. Like, it's really inconvenient for all sides.
Oh, but by the way, speaking of dead names and stuff, it is Capitan Marcos now. Just so he got demoted
because they demoted my fucking hell.
Yeah, because he's not indigenous. The leadership is all indigenous now. He's now the community manager.
Back rears its ugly head again.
He got DEI.
Like the Zapatistas went woke.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise of the century.
All right, I'm not going to dwell on this too much. The purpose of the railroad, it seemed like most logically was, okay, we're going to develop a bunch of industrial parks through the center of the isthmus, again, so they could reach both oceans. That seemed most logical. What we found out over the past couple of years is, oh my God, they brought their own bullshit. They're actually trying it. They bought a bunch of not brand new, recently refurbished auto racks for moving cars from one end of the railroad to the other. They bought a bunch of well cars. They were all marked not for interchange. I have no idea how I think this is going to work. It's
Hey,
So
they're just
insane.
they're just doing stuff. They've got a railway, they're just
Yeah.
doing stuff, and I can respect that.
The
Yeah.
whole reason this could work is because you have an access to the north. You could take trains and go north, and they're not doing it.
It's like, no, we're actually going to try this, compete with the Panama Canal bullshit.
Oh, wow. I'll be right back.
And back to our other
I gotta say though, this is a beautiful image of the guy standing around economy. Which
true, yeah.
I think we should aspire to, like, my country is not a guy standing around economy, and I think we'd be better off economically if we were. You know, we've got an unemployment crisis. If we could find niches to pay guys to stand around, we would be so much better off. And you know what that is? That's Keynesianism.
Yeah, we thought we were going to have a nearshoring economy, but then the tariffs came, so guys standing around just stretch those hamstrings.
Fun fact about these: does anyone remember the FEMA white boxcars with shackles conspiracy from back
But like they were going to put all of the like unvaxxed patriots in these and then ship them around to Jade Helm them.
This was way back in like Hurricane Katrina or so.
Yep.
And someone pointed out the white boxcars with shackles, and they were these big white Gunderson Automax auto rack cars. These are those same cars. They just painted them brown.
And it's a nice color. You know what?
Actually,
I
it is a nice
brown.
color. Yeah, actually, the brown is very nice.
Reluctantly, I do like Moreno's coloring scheme.
In 2017, I was working at Amtrak Beach Grove, which is the facility where the incinerators for the FEMA camps were. How do I know this? A guy jumped the fence and ran straight for the powerhouse to try and get pictures of the incinerators that were used in 2006.
Hey, you got to respect the guy who's with a commitment to the bit, right?
I mean, that's not a guy you can question his sincerity about that. That guy 100% believes that they were putting like the unvaccinated patriots in the boxcars. Like,
Instead, he just found some, weirdly enough, missing soldiers from Vietnam.
sort of running Rambo 2 and 4 at the same time. Yeah. Wait, no, 2 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an important slide, just because we got to talk about the trains.
It's not the same fucking train.
Yeah.
Gareth. The problem is you're using the word train when you mean the word train.
Yeah. So what I've discovered is that train means route, line. When people using lazy ChatGPT or like XAI translators are going, no, it's the same train. Look, it says Interoceanico on the side. It's like, no,
train to mean railway.
Yeah, which is understandable, but if they just look at the information rather than just quickly Google translating, they'd be an understanding of that. Because people jump straight in. Anyway, sorry, this slide is that it's not the same fucking train slide.
Yes, exactly. So on this line, on the Interoceanico, and some of I think there's 2 more lines now which are attached to it, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, there's 3 different divisions, and only on line Z is the I don't know, the American train.
The American stuff, right?
Yeah.
You got this big, ugly F-59 locomotive.
Now F-59 PHIs that they took from California and put a new engine block in and said, screw the environment.
Yeah. You got the CDOT coaches, Connecticut Department of Transportation, depowered SPVs. I don't know. That's too complex to go into here. And the Amfleets, right? These are all designed for the North American Railroad Network, right? Where you have things like hitting cars, hitting freight trains.
Yeah, they're designed for a continent in which stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. Generally, you have some pretty rough track by European standards. This is the one we thought would be mostly okay even if it was operated wrongly.
Yeah, something we were wrong about, like mea culpa.
Yeah, well,
kind of.
Kind of. We'll
yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get there because we'll get it on the next slide. But like things improved as soon as we were done with our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The
The system
2023
works,
episode.
sort of. We are.
I did have somebody say that a direct result of the podcast was a couple of the improvements on the cars. Yeah.
Oh
First
my God,
recorded instance of a podcast improving the world.
I'm gonna have a fucking panic attack thinking about a bunch of admirals sitting around and listening to like me talking about jerking off. Being like, okay, skip forward a bit.
Oh, you better believe they're all going to be listening to this episode, and we started jacking off bits. And you know what? That's fine. That's okay.
Well, that's what you take to the news and go, this was not serious. Look at how it started.
We might well be informed, but we're also doing bits on a podcast.
Right now, there is a decent chance that there is somebody wearing like sort of highly polished white shoes thinking about what made them choose a career in the Navy.
We have that power. So there's another train that's underneath the big American one.
Designed for a continent where stuff does not happen. Europe.
Yes.
Yes.
It is an HST. Roz, go on.
Yeah, it's a British Rail Class 43. That's the locomotive, and the Mark III coach is behind it, right? It's not big and ugly. It's small and pretty, and it's designed for the UK rail network where you don't really have grade crossing accidents. You don't crash trains into each other on a regular basis. You have high-quality, high-speed track. This is the one we were mostly panicking about, and frankly still are.
Yes.
Yeah, we still are. Like that fear still exists.
Yeah.
Like we know what happens when these things, before they go anywhere else, before we saw the things that this has collided, by the way, in operation on the Interoceanico, it has collided with things at grade crossings.
Yeah, we've seen the front get ripped off one of these by somebody's like, pickup truck.
It's down in the slides.
But we saw it. We saw it happen in the UK before that. That's why we were saying, because I put the picture up from after Nervit, where the front was ripped off and the whole train made a horrible mess when it hit a little bloody Mazda on a level crossing. So we know that these things are not good with grade crossings, right?
Yeah. Of which there are many, and none of them have protections.
And even worse with the freight network, because they're about 2/3 the size of a freight car.
Yeah, these two pictures are misleading. If you line these two up on the same track next to each other, as you can do quite easily there are pictures with it happening, it looks like someone's fucked up the perspective, because the HST is just tiny compared to, like, the HST doesn't even come up to the hood of the front of the F-59. Like, it's lower than that. It's like basically up to like the handrail level. Like, this thing is tiny. Note both photos though. The track looks pretty good. This will be important later.
Flashback to slide 29 of the previous podcast, where there's the SD60 say next to the HST, and it looks like somebody parked their Ford Ranger next to a semi.
It looks like someone's parked a 00, like the wrong scale of 00 and 00 trains next to each other in model form. That's it. It just looks odd.
Yeah, and the other thing here to note, both of these train sets here, or everything in both these trains here, is pretty damn old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, and it's a fair complaint, is that both these trains come from the 70s at minimum.
Yes.
And you have the right to be mad that you were told they were brand new and they were not.
They were 55 years old.
You do not have the right to be mad that they were rebuilt and they were called new. You can rebuild a train. It can be made new.
It can.
The fact that 50 years old means bad is not correct.
It's also, it was possible to have bought a brand new train that would have been as bad an idea as this.
Sure.
Well,
calf.
It would,
Siemens.
The the big thing here is, why are they buying these very old trains? It's because the Navy thought they could go to the train dealer and buy a train. It
Correct.
doesn't
Train
work like
Vana.
that.
Yeah, it turns out it's like there are 3 companies and you have to put in like an order sort of several years in advance, which doesn't
Yeah.
really work when your president is like, do it in 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And
They scoured the surface of the planet looking for any trains, and these were the ones that they could find. It's worth saying the HST. It's true for. I mean, you know, Scooter, you know the US kit, but it's true for the HST. Like, yes, there are lots of features of the train that are inescapably 70s or indeed 60s in some cases. But like, you know, a lot of the mechanicals are, you know, of 2000s era vintage. Actually, they were re-engined by MTU. There's lots, you know, they've got LED cluster light. There's lots of stuff about these that is not from the 70s.
Well,
there are lots of features of them that's decent. The interiors are not bad, although they did rip out a lot of the interiors for the when they brought them over. So, you know, lots of things that are.
If you look at the interiors, it looks like something that came out of the Siemens factory. They did new paint, they did new seats.
Yeah.
They did a complete refresh. And then honestly, with the way that the modern manufacturing and international best practices is the seats are better, the cushions are better, the interior experience of both train sets. You hear that? I'm defending the HSTs. The interior is better than what you could buy on the modern system nowadays. Like, I was privy to an article where the Amtrak, I believe it was Roger Harris, said live that you cannot buy a seat that reclines anymore. No one will build it.
Yeah,
you have to buy those
that
ones
just makes
with
me
the
feel great
slidey.
about society.
So like, yes, they're old, but like they were made nice. So
However,
so you know, essentially what wound up happening is the Navy bought every used passenger car in the United States and then filled up the rest of their roster with the HSTs. Right, this was enough to run some pretty minimal passenger service.
One a day
is about all this railroad can handle because they built it so cheap.
Well, I feel like there's like a demand for more than that. How many people are chomping at the bit to go from Salina Cruz to like Tehuantepec? It can't be that many people.
Apparently
it was a lot.
Apparently, it was 241 a train. Yeah,
that's true.
Like, it's one of those build it and they will come situations. Turns out people are keen on getting a train. Maybe run 2 a day.
No, 2 sounds reasonable.
Yeah, so you know, this is the one we were panicking about down here. This is the one we really thought was going to cause a nasty accident.
And instead, our problem child has to date only had the front ripped off a couple of times.
Yeah,
and then our nice, reliable American, fucking John Wayne locomotive.
Yeah,
did this
just
well? Hold on. The equipment did not do this.
Correct. Yeah, okay, you're right.
Guns don't kill people.
This happened to it. Yeah, you're right. This happened to it.
Correct.
This happened. The 8 a.m. train out of Salina Cruz gets to the loops outside of Nizanda. Right? Something happens. Train flies off the cliff, plunges down into the ravine.
Yeah, it's struck by like flying pronouns, or like Guatemalan solid snake blows up the track, or we know not what.
Spanish solid snake.
Excuse me, yeah, Spanish solid snake. Avowed socialist, weirdly, but like very kind of like chauvinist about Latin America, blows up the track, and then it just dumps down the side of a hill.
Yeah, and so, you know, anyway, the train leaves the track somehow at a very bad spot. Somewhere back here, there's a locomotive that's still on the track mostly, and one that was entirely on the track. Down here, and it keeps going. There's another passenger car down here. And we didn't quite know what was going on, but we were able to say, we predicted it. Oh, wait, now there's people dead. We can't say ha.
Yeah, we don't.
yeah.
It doesn't feel good to say "I told you so" in this
No, it does not.
specific line of work. You know,
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's
in
true.
particular, because something like this, it's not like we were going sort of retrospectively. It's we were telling you so that you could not do it. You know, so that this could have been avoided.
And
Yeah.
when we keep saying this, as far as we're about to get into, what has happened was not particularly of concern.
This was not
Equipment maintenance was, equipment capability was, the rush to build the railroad was.
I suppose it's an oversight because we didn't actually. I like to, on RailNet, I like to talk about skills, and I suppose there was enough for us to talk about that we didn't dwell on. How are you training up your staff? How are you training up your pool of drivers and operators?
Are you?
We didn't touch on it because there was so much else to talk about.
Yeah. Are you building the infrastructure to prevent a general accident from happening?
Yeah.
Is the track up to standard? Have they actually done what they said they would do? We didn't really get into that because it wasn't
so many other things
we
going
understood
on.
and we knew were happening, you know.
And that's the problem with like building something that's clearly meant for freight, but like slapping a passenger train to like try and honestly fail at calming the social turmoil that it was going to cause. If there was training, I guess it went for the freight part because, yeah.
Well, we'll get there.
So a lot of people were trying to figure out, okay, what happened here? I think a lot of people who listened to our earlier podcast immediately gravitated towards this, right?
Yep.
Which is the Amfleet car, where the airbag was completely compressed, so the suspension wasn't really working. As well as, all this equipment was painted when it really shouldn't have been. And, there's a whole bunch of problems here.
Yeah, it's like we said, I think that it looked really good, but it was going to sort of like fling AMLO out of the door down a mountainside.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Not exactly what happened.
Well, you may notice that the Amfleet car is back here and it's the one that's still on the track.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they jumped all over the general mechanical that we pointed out, which was almost immediately fixed by the time the train was running regularly. They hacked off the generator, they did heavy mechanical on the truck frames, all the stuff that was get the train out for AMLO was taken care of. And they were pulling in new wheel sets. The SPVs arrived, which are the general coaches, and they completely rebuilt the interiors, put new wheels on them, did quite a bit of air brake work. I only know this from the fact that you can watch all the videos and see new wheels, the generator's been cut off, no flat spots, the airbags are inflated, all this stuff that like you can visually see. Whether insider information or not, you can watch it happen in real time.
Yep.
Yeah, you can go and watch the Simply Railway video or something.
Yep.
It's like you're trying to fix all this stuff.
Yeah.
You're trying to fix all of this stuff when you actually have time to do it, and you're like, this fuck ass podcast is making fun of me.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So this problem was fixed.
Yeah. One thing people have jumped on this is that, well, they didn't replace the airbags or the airbags weren't working properly. The airbags aren't the main suspension system. Now, if you screw up the center of gravity on the car, all of a sudden they're the only suspension system, but that was fixed. They removed the generator and the Amfleet wasn't involved. The SPVs have the same system where they rely on the spring system first, and then the secondary air leveler, which is the airbags. So in theory, unless there was a horrific mechanical failure, that is not a factor to look at. And we'll get into analysis here in a little bit of why we can almost prove that.
Yeah. Here's some pictures of the derailment.
So this is the curve where it turned, and Gareth, this is definitely where you can add to it.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
big. It's not supposed to look like this.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. I mean, there's I've got a section later where I'll get into the details of the specifics of what I think the mechanism of derailment was. But things that you spot when I was seeing these pictures, Scooter did a really good thread pretty early on. I was looking through the pictures, and the first thing that struck me, thinking about what we talked about in the podcast, was this track looks pretty good actually.
Yeah,
There's fresh ballast. It's decent ballast. The track materials are fine. Lots of people are moaning about timber sleepers. Shut the fuck up. Like, timber sleepers are fine.
Those are all brand new.
They're all good.
Yeah,
There's
they
stuff we'll get to later where there's specific complaints and conspiracy theories. But look at the pictures up right now show decent track that has been super elevated, which means that someone has put some thought into the alignment, which means so it has been aligned. There has been some engineering gone into this. Like, it looks decent. Like, the only thing that I'd say is not great is there's not a huge amount of lateral ballast to keep the track in line, but there are no obvious, despite there being several very heavy trains walloping around on it, there are no obvious geometric defects in the track here. So, we'll get later to my predictions, but my instinct here was, well, this does not look like a track issue. The track looks pretty solid through here.
And what needs to be mentioned is that is not the lead locomotive on the right-hand side. There was an F59 PHI ahead of that was pulling through, and then this was the second locomotive that rolled, and then we'll get into it, but there was a car in the ravine and then cars over the side.
Yeah.
This image is misleading because if you look on both images, there's a covering that almost looks like a rock fence covering. And so that early guesses, including my own, was a boulder came down and hit this, especially with how bad that locomotive is.
I was also thinking big boulder at first, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
A rock fence would be kind of smart to have in this kind of territory, but once you look at other pictures zoomed out, that's more of like a grassy hill.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably smaller material. It's probably a geotechnical, rather than big boulder fall, it's more of we're protecting this slope to keep it stable for the civil engineering. Again, worth commenting, some engineering has happened here. They've gone, this slope requires some remediation, some work has done. So it's indicative that since we did the podcast, there has clearly been ongoing civil engineering to bring elements of this line, bits of it, to what total percentage I don't know, but sections of this line have clearly had attention to bring it up to a standard, which this is as good as a lot of GB rail. Looking at these pictures, like there's plenty of railway that looks worse than this in the UK right now, right?
Yep. So that's the front and the rear of the derailment. Can we go to the next slide? So this is the rear half of the train.
Jesus wept.
That was pulled up and over from the track. And
what a fucking coupler.
Couplers, tight lock couplers, saved so many lives in this accident.
We talked about it in many previous episodes, but keeping couplers connected and therefore keeping the train in line is a major factor in how many lives are saved in a crash like this.
They took these cars, put them back on the rail, and brought them home today. They were in that kind of condition. That coupler kept these things from becoming battering rams into each other.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how much engineering saved this train.
And we were saying that there were what, like 240 something people on
241, I believe.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted to bring this picture into it because we were talking about the equipment. You look at the car on the left, those are brand new wheels. That is full thickness, brand new wheels sitting there. Why the EMT bag is up under the truck frame, I will never know. That's not a great place for that.
No.
I mean, these cars were in immaculate condition from what we can tell from all the pictures we've got in the video that we've seen beforehand. New springs, new brake shoes on everything. Like they were doing their job to maintain this as far as we know.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show that, and you can see the rock pile it went through. It's like really really like thin limestone almost. Maybe not limestone, but like it's where it shatters really easily.
It's like scree or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so like there was just no resistance when this thing hit that, which might have been for the best in this accident. I just want to point stuff like that out because it changed things for the better.
Yes.
And also discredits the engineering theory, or not the engineering theory, but the boulder theory,
You know,
the
or the idea that
landslide theory.
Yeah, the cars were so substandard, and that's the reason why it happened.
No,
I mean,
and it's not. There's nothing showing that.
Yeah, this is the standard. The standard hasn't changed in North America in 40 years, but this is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, let's pop to the next one, which is slightly less pretty in a variety of ways.
So this
I have to use the restroom.
You picked a good one to leave on, buddy.
Fuck me.
So
yes, correct.
This is the one that went down the ravine, broke the coupler on the car behind it, and slid down all the way. And you can see, we'll get to it, but that front coupler's twisted as if it rolled, it was forced to roll. This car stayed in one piece, but a lot of the internal equipment, seating, mainly seating, but some of the luggage racks were detached themselves and threw themselves from the
it's one of these it's one of the things I can say while Roz isn't here is that I hate him. No, is that
we do call him Stinky Roz.
One of the things I can say while Roz isn't here is that is when like there's a balance of how you manage energy in a derailment, and in some instances you don't want the car to be designed to be completely rock solid. You actually want it to disintegrate and crumple in certain ways. In others, you benefit from it absolutely staying intact and not folding over. The Mark III that we looked at earlier is pretty good in collision energy management and also in rollover strength, relatively speaking. It's not built like a tank, but under its own mass, it can sustain from 125 miles an hour. It's been in crashes where it's done remarkably well. This is an example of kind of like a mixture of the two, in that the fact that this stayed physically intact in the way that it has, like a tank, meant that will have protected a lot of lives. It will have also meant that the energy within that vehicle will have been very high and not well dissipated. So there will have been a lot of bodies being flung around and chairs and other loose fittings being flung around that you might not have had in a situation where energy was managed. However, it fell off a fucking cliff.
Yes.
So actually, it's staying in a physical, it not deforming is probably erring on the side that you want in this situation from an energy management perspective.
If this was a modern venture coach, it would have either done the exact same thing or disintegrated, depending on how it hit.
Yeah, I was going to say it would have pancaked, quite possibly just pancaked flat,
With that, you'd have just as many chairs flung, just as many luggage racks ripped off.
But zero survival space.
Yeah, it would be, I don't want to say it would be worse, but it would be worse. And that's the one takeaway from this is like, I've seen people in it luckily not in the news, but in comments being like, oh, it fell apart on the inside. And it's like, it probably experienced 50 plus G's in there.
Yeah.
This is the interiors of these cars were built to airline standards. They were using the same track that airlines use, bolted into the frame. The seats were built by an airline manufacturer. Like, if a plane and planes don't crash sideways normally, neither do trains. So like, it's really hard to compare it to another crash other than ones we'll talk about towards the end.
Yeah, like you do design for rollover strength, but it is not, you don't design for rollover strength
going down a
to
cliff.
the level of G forces that you're describing.
You generally don't expect the train to be flung off a cliff, sort of Looney Tunes style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
not much you can do to design for that.
there's a lot of pictures of this thing. I just wanted to bring this one up to show how it slid on one side. It never rolled. So, like, it wasn't a blender in there, thank God. But
Yes.
it went down the hill in one piece. And it looks like it broke the trucks off at the very bottom. So,
which again is good because as soon as those break free, they become become projectiles. So
yeah, well,
they've only broken free at the end of its journey.
The
Is
center
also
pin on these did its job, just like the couplers, and it saved a lot. I feel like I'm defending these, and I have a reason to, but like.
Well, no, you're just undermining some of the bullshit that was getting thrown around, suggesting that a problem was not.
If this was an aluminum car, if this was some of the shit they could have gotten that went on the market afterwards, this was an aluminum car. This would be an aluminum can. It'd be just crushed,
just completely shredded, just like
the HST, which is steel bodied, would have would absolutely not have performed this well in this instance. But there are other issues with we'll get to, if there was an HST involved in this, what the other consequences could have been.
Yeah,
but
we'll get our 5 minutes, but just trying to show what the derailment was without showing the graphics of it, because good God, nobody has any chill with their pictures down there. It may be in 480p, but they were posting pictures of bodies in high rails, bodies coming out of the cars.
So I instantly blocked anyone who did that. But the number of people sending me pictures of, victims. I'm going to put it that way. I'm trying to think of a sensitive way, because you have to. These are victims.
Welcome to Mexican media.
Yeah,
we are just obsessed with gore. It's just this was tame for our standards that are used to like narco violence. It's it hasn't trained us in a good way to have respect for victims. Not good.
Yeah. The next picture is a really good overview. I think the picture that we've opened with is the best overview, but this is a useful overview to kind of show you what ended up where.
Yeah.
I think.
Probably should have started with this, but oh well.
I think this is from an official government presentation by Claudia herself. But yeah, the first locomotive made it through the curve. Second locomotive turned over. First car down the ravine. Second car mostly down the ravine. Third car a little bit down the ravine. And then back here we have the AM fleet stayed on the track.
Yeah. It's worth saying. So the fact that the couplers held intact is absolutely key here, because if they hadn't, you'd have had the potential for overriding. You'd have had the potential for the car behind actually barreling into the middle, perhaps, of one of the other coaches and crushing it. As you can go to the Stonehaven, the derailment at Carmont. You can see what happens when Mark III coaches, by the way, do a similar thing to this, which is where the couplers, which are pathetic on an HST, relatively speaking, all just break with the slightest tickle. And so you get the car scattering, and they roll over, they catch on trees, and they ride over each other and make an awful mess. Carmont is kind of I haven't put any pictures of it here, but you can all Google it. Very similar, a very similar sort of arrangement with altitude, with an embankment and with the energies involved, and you can see what that looks like. Admittedly, at much higher speeds, actually, but you can see what that looks like where those couplings break. So the couplings holding together is a really key element of the lives being saved here. Like those couplers will have literally saved dozens, if not hundreds, of lives.
Yep, and this picture is really good at showing the track where it derailed as well.
Yes,
how clean it is. I mean,
yeah, it's in pretty decent shape.
There's
nothing here that I would. It doesn't look like it was damaged in any way.
Correct. Yeah.
Hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show.
So, on the subject of couplers and what could be...
Yeah, because I didn't want to dwell too much on counterfactuals, but we do have to do the counterfactual. What if an HST was involved in this accident as opposed to the Bud cars?
A couple of things here. Lower center of gravity means that it might well have got around the curve more successfully. So it's not necessarily a clean counterfactual. But let's assume that if it did go around the curve and come off in much the same way, the main thing that I think would be a difference is the cab, the locomotive would have been completely destroyed because the HSTs are just a reminder. The front is just fiberglass upturned with a seat inside. It's just a bath. It's an upturned bath. But the couplers would likely have all broken under the forces, and so you'd have had the cars being scattered, and therefore safety of those inside, the safety space inside, much less of that.
And potentially you're then chasing 2 or 3 cars down a ravine rather than one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more of them would have ended up down the ravine. They'd have scattered. They'd have potentially overridden and bumped into each other and bashed each other. HST bogies have a habit of just immediately becoming 5-ton projectiles. It would not have been pretty. That's accepting that there's a higher likelihood this train would have got around the curve, given the
in the event of an overspeed is the answer.
Yeah. But say there'd been but assuming that the same thing had happened to it, that it comes off in much the same way, it would have been uglier, much uglier.
Yeah,
there we go. We've done our counterfactual. There we are.
Counterfactual. This is.
And I wasn't the one who said it.
Right.
For all the freaking people over the pond yelling at me, I didn't say any of that.
To all the HST fans who are suggesting that things would have been better with an HST or getting upset about HSTs, you can absolutely. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
So we did counterfactuals. Now let's do zero factuals.
Some of the actual conspiracies, right?
Fictionals, if you will.
Yeah. There is a word for that. Thank you, Nova. Yeah.
Counterfictionals.
Yeah.
So, I these are two particular ones.
Neoliberal lover. Fuck me. What a fucking handle. Okay.
I believe this is a video of the train kicking up some dust from some of the ballast, which is normal.
It's kicking up some dust.
Why everything on a railway is kind of brown and grey is because there's a lot of dirt and grime.
Yeah, it's also dusty. It's a dusty, but the environment is dusty. Like it's dry, it's dusty.
Yeah, that's why they keep the dust.
Yeah, I've played Doom 3. Yeah.
This is someone complaining, already evidence the track had little ballast. This is translated by, unfortunately, Grok from Spanish.
Yeah. There you go, Braz.
The tracks did not have stability, quote, right? It was the state. It was Shinebound. It was I don't know what the 4T is.
I don't know, but I've had that number and letter sent at me a lot in the last 2 weeks.
4T means Cuarta Transformación, fourth transformation. It's supposed to be like the current stage of development that we are thanks to AMLO. The first one is it's kind of like subdividing Mexican history in stages, like the independence, the revolution,
it's like French. Yeah, okay.
French republics, sure.
Right, and so and now Morena's brand is the word transformation, right? Like they painted outside buildings, they call everything transformation. It's supposed to be a break with neoliberalism. Hence the angry eye with globe emojis.
Right, yeah.
I, for one, would like more breaks with neoliberalism.
Mm.
Those are usually good.
Yeah, I can recommend those.
So the video on the left as well, that's the one where everybody has their gotcha because there's some old ties from the rebuild kicked over onto the embankment.
Oh, right. Oh, wait, over here.
So I was getting sent pictures of these old bearers that were chucked over, like old bears. And I'm like, those are, there's no, I don't know what those are. There is nothing tying those to the incident. Excuse the pun. Like this, like I don't know what they are. They're probably from 1907.
It's standard U.S. practice. We do it all the time. There's a pile out front of my house from the railway. Like,
yeah. I mean, sometimes, you know, if it's railroad land, you just chuck it to the side. Don't worry about it. You know.
Yeah, there is so much rail dumped like that on the GB network. Like, it's a problem. We like, and it's sleepers. Generally, we're better with sleepers actually because they're kind of easier to handle. But yeah, like that's just a thing you do, particularly with timbers because they're really light. You just flick them over the side and that's fine. Like, it's not a problem. Like, that's not the fact they're dumped over the side and look crap. It's probably because they were crap, so they were dumped over the side.
Yeah,
exactly.
They probably put good ones in, which was the whole fucking point.
Yeah, you know, and you know, these are, you know, these are also, of course, biodegradable after about 1,000 years because of the creosote.
Oh dear. Yeah. So then the other thing was there were two or three factors in this other video that was getting sent around a lot. That's on the other side. That was like a moving video showing the track again. By the way, in pretty good nick. Like, there's some nice concretes. There are lots of people. So there are things that people are pointing to. They were pointing to ballast. They're saying, "Oh, ballast." I was like, okay, yes, I don't think there's enough ballast on the ends of the sleepers to keep it in position laterally. Also, for those tight curves, there should really be a third guardrail to sort of, or a continuous check rail rather, to kind of support this. But anyway, fine. Those are nice to have, but it's jointed track, I will assume, and therefore you don't need to have ballast shoulders. It's fine as long as it's maintained well. So there's one thing was the ballast. The next was like, well, they're changing from concrete to timber. It's like, yeah. There's probably like 5,000 of those changes, in more even than those in GB. That's just, yes, that there will always be a change from concrete to timber. That's just, unless you have only one type everywhere, which is never going to be the case. So no, that's not a problem. And the other was saying, look at the cracks, and you can see it in the picture there. Look at those cracks in the timber sleepers. They're dreadful. It's like, no, that's what hardwood sleepers look like. They just look like that.
Let me show you the Texas Transcon, like BNSF's 80 mile per hour freight corridor. It's worse than this. And they're running.
Yeah, I was also thinking like the Meridian Speedway or something like that.
Absolutely.
You know,
so, I mean, to summarize, this is all born of people not knowing what they're looking at. And therefore concluding that because it looks bad to them, that like
baseless speculation, baby.
The guys who actually know about this stuff professionally are lying to them because you have pronouns.
Well, and the second we correct them, they're like, "No, you're doing," and it's like, you asked.
A number of people said I was getting paid narco dollars. They're like, that would be nice. I would love some narco dollars.
Like, consider this. You might have like gone to school for this and like worked on this and stuff, but I asked Grok, right? And it told me that it was perfectly acceptable to like render a version of me with no shirt on. So
and like I have heard some complaints by people who live in Oaxaca about like lack of maintenance and like substandard practices. But I mean, we all saw the past couple slides. That doesn't seem to be the main cause. Like, we're all grasping at straws at what the hell happened here. And
it's like, and anything like that, it's like that stuff might be true, but it's circumstantial. There's nothing with the information we had. This is where we're getting constantly accused of being walking back. It's like, no, we're not walking anything back. It's just that without something that specifically ties those behaviors or those shortcomings to the accident, there is no way, to the derailment. I shouldn't call it an accident because it isn't one. There is no way of saying, no, that's it. No, that's it. It's all just, okay, sure. But I'm not going to say that's what the cause was unless I've got evidence. We'll get to what my gut feeling was, which has ended up looking like it was right on what the cause was. We'll get to that in a minute. but like lots of things, what's on the screen here, and a bunch of other similar things that people were claiming were smoking guns, from both sides, by the way.
Yeah.
And they weren't, as you say, it was just clutching at things that look out of place according to their their uninformed gut instinct. And it's not that I don't think people who don't know, I don't think that nobody who, unless other than experts, should speculate on stuff, right? I don't think that. What I do think is when people say that is it, that they know that's it. It's like saying, well, what about this? Or what about that? But so few people were asking me. A few did. I did have plenty of people going, what about this? What do you think about this? Those people, kudos to them, and I gave them as good an answer as I could. But there were so many more people going, no, this is the smoking gun. It's like, you don't know fucking shit, mate.
And then
yes, the WTYP airing of grievances episode.
There was a
We need to do one every so often, you know.
There was a small grain of truth that I think got blown into this, which is someone, oh God, I forgot where the article was, because it was in Spanish, so obviously I forgot immediately. Someone did a big, in-depth, like real old-fashioned shoe leather reporting into discrepancies in the ballast accounts for the Interoceanico. Like they paid too much for ballast, so on and so forth. Is there some fraud here, right?
Specifically tied to possibly AMLO's sons.
Huh.
Yeah.
We love a sons-based kickback.
Right, and listen, I will die on the hill that I think people who accuse both Claudia and AMLO of corruption are just way off course. They are, like, for all accounts and purposes, upstanding individuals.
Yeah.
I will not risk my reputation for AMLO's sons.
I mean, if you're like looking into like, okay, why is this railroad substandard? I would say, where's the second track? Where are the signals?
Yep.
Where are?
And no one was raising that. It's like there's no one.
Where are the crossing gates?
What's the training? What's the training for the drivers like? Like how much training the drivers have? How many drivers are there? What's their fatigue management like? These are questions I'm just not seeing anyone asking.
The thing that I saw most, like, people on the ground that I trust, they were not speculating on causes and posting random Facebook videos. Instead, they were saying, where was the response? Like we were supposed to get development. There's not enough hospitals. Like people had to be rushed to IMSS Bienestar, and some of the victims had to be rushed to another hospital further away because like we were promised that we were gonna trade the environment in our ancestral lands for development, and well, so far we got some couple decentish trains. We don't have the goddamn development.
And that's all legitimate complaints. It's legitimate problems to have is where is the money gone? What happened? Where's the development been? And that's fine, but using the derailment as a jumping off point for that is not okay if that wasn't the cause. Those articles should have been written months, years ago. It shouldn't be being brought up now.
The complaints by Oaxacan indigenous communities have been constant throughout this past 6 years. The complaints by conservatives have not. The lack of hospitals didn't cause this derailment.
Yeah. Some of that probably should have been on this slide.
Oh yeah.
It's fine. We can sort of skip through the actual slide, having done the content early.
Yeah.
One thing I did get out of the viral videos is like multiple Instagram, I guess, or maybe TikTok videos were using what appeared to be AI generated versions of lower resolution of me, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I saw Mexican Gareth. The AI generated, here's what you would look like if you were Mexican.
Yeah, which was kind of nice.
No, we might get merged, Gareth. So if you see a purple-haired you walking around in Mexico in AI videos, I'm extremely sorry.
That does not sound like something to apologize for. That sounds Absolutely ideal. What was also funny is like someone did do the grok thing on me, but rather than putting me in a bikini, which could have been fun, it's funny, like someone came into one of my pictures and said, get this guy holding some obscene banner. It was like, deport the illegals, which is funny because I'm British and I would never say that even if I was a fascist. But it like got me holding a sign saying deport the illegals, and then like from one account, and then immediately like 30 seconds later came on into one of the Mexican railway crash chats, posting that saying this you. It's like no, obviously it isn't, because firstly it isn't me if you zoom in, and secondly, why would I use that phrase and why would I say that?
Especially in this context.
It was, but yeah, so it got kind of ugly. So that's some of my screaming and frustration is how ugly it got on social media. Like, I did quite a lot of blocking and muting and escaping, but it was still my mentions were on fire for about a week of like, and I was trying to pick through it because I did want to engage with some of those good faith conversations. People who are genuinely like, so what do you think about this? I was wanting to try and find those and engage with those. So yeah, it was scrappy.
There was one account you got, it was awful for you, and I'm sorry you got hit so hard, but you also are the expert, so they all gravitated to you. There was this one account that just kept hitting me and hitting me and hitting me with, well, they spent so much money on this and spent so much money on that. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with what happened. We won't know. You won't know. Wait until the accident report comes out.
The amyloid derangement syndrome has everyone trying to relitigate every single thing every single time there's something wrong.
Yeah, and I had to be the dickhead a couple of times and be like, look, my friend, I have done nearly 15 years of career, and before that I had 5. Actually, it wasn't being the dick, because it was someone who was like, why, you're engaged, like, what do you know? And I was like, look, I did a 5-year degree and I've had a 15-year career after it nearly. And like, I've learned something from that. Some of it has gone in my head. I'm not here to just engage with the random trolls. Anyway, it was a strange experience. Being Mexicanified was one of the lighter elements of it.
Bit force max.
So
one of the complaints that Usisoni did that we mentioned was we need better crossing times.
Yeah,
and they were the only ones.
You need crossing signs in general.
They're the only ones mentioning that. Here is how the actual people who live there know what they need, and not like the equivalent of
exactly
Miami Venezuelans, but for Mexico.
Yeah.
Brightline. Yeah, that's it. Brightline Mexico. Yeah.
So on the slide, I do want to bring up, I really, really, really hope the accident investigators took plenty of pictures before they did this.
Yeah.
Because
this is another thing you are allowed to get mad at. Is, to the best of my knowledge, Mexico does not have an independent rail accident investigation authority.
No. It's the first thing I brought up was, this is a problem. There is no independent investigator like the RAIB, like the NTSB, like the BA. Like, it's an incredibly important thing to have an independent investigator, because they don't come in looking for blame. They come in looking to understand what happened first,
which
and
sucks,
foremost.
because I think an independent investigator would not hurt Morena's standing that much. But AMLO hated independent stuff. And independent investigators, and pretty much tried to get rid of any independent organism in almost every area. I'm not sure I don't think he got rid of a train one, but he certainly was not going to implement it, because he was systematically removing every single one of those things in most other dependencies that he could get access to. Mind you, it was because a lot of them were even extremely corrupt. But so he had a point, but it's something that most libs here get really mad about, and point here for libs, because we could really use some actual independent information here.
It's like you start by abolishing the Senate parliamentarian or the office for me getting bribed, and then you finish up and you're like, well, wait a second, why does nobody investigate the train crash?
Yeah, and I have to say, this is one of the things which is Scheinbaum specifically, in fact, is implicated in is what happened with the Line 12 disaster in Mexico City. When actually, instead of an independent investigator, what they did was, an internal independent investigator. What they did was reach out to, I think, the Norwegian transport crash investigators, and that's been an almighty shit show. Not I'm not going to go into details necessarily of why and where blame lies for that, but that ended up being messy because that is one thing you can do is go to a trusted third party, not the Actually, I have a lot of time for the NTSB, but let's just say it probably wouldn't be a good idea to go to the US in this situation. But you could go to, I don't know, you could probably go to the RAIB because Britain's, who the fuck is Britain? Get them in.
And like, I think that
could have been a way to do it. You bring in an independent investigator and have a look, but that ship has sailed at this point.
Not after Ayotzinapa. I don't think the Mexican government is not really happy with external investigators, to the chagrin of the 43 disappeared students and their families. That was never resolved. And part of that was that AMLO kind of kicked out the independent investigators.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that really prevented like the development of an independent, regulator here is that every Mexican railroad was a private railroad, which also went into the United States, which meant they were regulated effectively by the United States Federal Railroad Administration.
Fair.
They didn't need a separate regulator in Mexico because, hey, we did all the work. You could see Ferromex locomotives, like I've seen them like up here in Philly, so.
And that kind of explains why we have such a broken brain. Like we are, the Mexican media consumer immediately jumps to like conspiracies and Facebook videos because we're trained that we're just never gonna get answers for anything.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up before we move on to the engineering. Somebody has been riding my ass that this car split in half and that's why everyone died. Those are saw cuts. When they got the big hooks out, which they brought in 2 derricks from, it looks like Ferromex, and drug this up the hill. With the hill they were dragging it up on, it almost guaranteed could not have been the whole car in one piece. Although you could have tried, but they cut the car up into pieces to make it happen and fit it on flat cars. Those are gas saw cuts. If that was intentionally torn, or not intentionally, oh my god, if that was torn apart by fall in the crash, that would just be shreds.
It would not be a nice, clean little scissor cut like that.
So many people are like, look, it's all bent up. And it's like, my guy, they had to pull it on up a ravine. They had no choice.
Yeah.
Now, I, again, hope they got pictures before they did it, but it's all been cleaned up. They have pulled everything back into Coatzacoalcos. So we'll see.
It sucks that we don't get pictures. Like if there's pictures, we're not gonna see them. And the only pictures that like reach the public are gory messes. There's no appetite for like the actual technical details because I guess Facebook videos suffice.
There is one guy on Facebook that has been documenting every train that's come down the line, and that's been the wreck train with the locomotive, which they cut the locomotive all apart to get, but they ran it on its frame to get back. And then the wreck train with this right behind it with a couple of semis pulling it. And that was it. That is all the documentation I have seen since.
Yeah. Like for this, as we'll get into, for this incident, the most important photographs you can take are in the cab of the leading locomotive. And my fear, and what all the equipment positions were, levers, speedometers. I do believe there is a data recorder in this locomotive. What that information says.
They have said that there was one in one of the locomotives.
Yeah.
They have said that they have gotten the equipment to download it if they didn't have it beforehand. And the problem is the lead locomotive immediately after the accident was pulled away for accident recovery. So it wasn't at the site when the investigation started.
Yeah. So that's so much as the most important critical bare minimum is to have an understanding of what the controls were set to in that vehicle And I don't think we're going to get that. And that is a frustration, because that's kind of the key thing in this, to understand what happens. Because the reality is, most of the investigating that you need to do, as we'll get into, is actually not going to be at the crash site here. We kind of can see what happened. Train, we'll get into it in a minute. Train fell down an embankment and killed some people. The more important stuff is the investigation that's going to be organizational investigation.
Yes.
Understanding the drivers, training, procedures for fatigue management, these sorts of things. And again, those are more difficult things to get under the hood of if you're not the investigator, or indeed not the person who's finding out what information they need to make sure it doesn't get out. Who knows? I suppose at this point, we do have to ask a question, though, Ross.
Yes.
Which is...
Well, what happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened? So I'm
right,
very
go get him, Gareth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm spooling up. So I'm very. This is
spooling
Gareth's
up like
fast
he's a
slide
turbo.
Yeah.
Here we go. So I'm very briefly going to tell all of you how trains fall over. So even if there are lots of other ways that they can happen, but generally they will create one of these 6 situations I'm going to go through to happen. Also, I want to just briefly say, this is not like a bells and whistles. This is exactly how it all happened, how it went down. I'm going to be describing what a likely mechanism for the derailment based on the information. And this is exactly what I would have said before the official announcement that it was an overspeed, which has now happened, by the way. To what extent that's in the public domain? Screw is that a news article, or was it a Scheinbaum statement?
Lots of news articles are leaning into it. It has not been officially announced yet.
Really? Okay. Well, I put my flag in the sand. In fact, I put a tweet later of my first flag in the sand. But as soon as I saw Scooter's thread, I was like, that looks like an overspeed. And I'll explain why. So how do trains fall over? Next slide, please.
Yes.
Number 1 way, flange climb derailment. Don't laugh. That is where you have a train that is, for various reasons, being forced to ride up the rails and find its way off. And that can happen from like a poorly ground wheel, or it can happen from a very worn railhead, or it can happen from your
Geometry is a fickle bitch.
Yeah.
Yes, quite. So generally it's to do with varying forms of reduced vertical loading or increased lateral loading. So that's flange climb. Next one.
It's like one day you're in maths class and you're like, when am I going to need to know this angle shit? And it turns out this angle shit being slightly wrong flings you down a mountain.
Yeah, this is why you should have studied the free body diagram.
So number 2 is a critical thing that track has to do. I don't know why I'm gesticulating, because none of you can see me doing it. Well, none of you lovely listeners at home.
I'm looking at you right now.
I know. I'm so sorry, Lynx. I'm not at my best. So
very handsome.
I love you so much. So track has to do 2 things. It has to keep the rails up, and it has to keep them the right distance apart. And if either of those things are no longer happening, then you have a problem. And with the 2 rails falling apart, that's called gauge spread. That is a way that trains can derail. That's number 2. Number 3. I should have like the like 1980s Radio 1 music going in the background. Number 3. Track twist. This is where you are not maintaining your tracks line and level properly, and a train or a bogie is a truck, should I say, is a very rigid thing, and it cannot twist. And so there is a rate at which the wheels can twist, and if your track exceeds that, then you will unload the wheels and enable a derailment. That is track. That's why it's important to not have twisty track. At number 4, number 4 is the track buckle. This one is obvious. If this happens,
dear, that's good for it, right?
Yeah.
That's like the sort of railway track equivalent of like my front teeth. That's no good.
This is
me too. Yeah. So we're British and we're matching the stereotype. Yeah. I bet your teeth are better than mine, though, frankly. Anyway, right. So track buckle. Tracks can buckle for all sorts of reasons, and we're not going to get into them now because we'll do another episode on buckley track. But if it happens, it's bad. Number 5.
if you want to see 3, 4, and 5 in succession, watch the earthquake sequence in The Wind Rises.
Ooh, yeah. I'm now Googling. No, I'm not, because I've got to describe this slide. So dynamic bollocks is stuff that happens that isn't just a stationary track thing, but actually the track is responding to trains moving over it. So perhaps you have a defect in the railhead that results in the wheel set of the train being excited, as we call it. We all know what that feels like. And the result of that is that you get a response in the track and the train that amplifies and results in the train falling off. There are lots of different ways this manifests, but this picture kind of a bit shows what that sort of looks like.
Tacoma Narrows bridging my train?
Kinda, yeah, that kind of vibe. And then in at number 6, last but by no means least, is overspeed.
Oh, Croydon Tramlink.
Croydon Tramlink.
Used to be my commute. Did this.
This is what happens. I mean, funnily enough, the curvature of the track you're looking at now is only marginally tighter than the curve of the crash that we're talking about. This is what happens when a train goes too fast around a curve. It falls right over. So this isn't flange climb derailment. This is the center of gravity goes over and the train just falls over from going too fast. Next slide, please. I predicted this. This is as soon as I saw Scooter's picture here, it was obvious to me that this was, or let's say not obvious. It seemed pretty unlikely that another cause would explain this behavior of the vehicle. The way that the train has spread as it's gone around the curve, the way that the locomotive, in this case, the second locomotive you can see is tipped over, it all matches the behavior of an overspeed. Now, to explain what happens here very, very briefly, we're going to go into the science again like we did for the Morpeth episode. So next slide, please. And I'm going to be on it for seconds, mere seconds. When a train goes around a curve, it has an inwards acceleration and an outwards acceleration. The outwards acceleration is related to the speed of the train. The inwards acceleration is related to the amount that you've tipped the train over with cant, with super elevation, or have indeed chosen not to. Next slide, please. That gives us, I'm barely giving time for Roz to John Madden this shit. Anyway, that gives us the equation of cant, which is E plus D equals 11.82 V squared over R for standard gauge track. And that gives us two things, which is how much cant super elevation we have applied, and then up to equilibrium cant, where you cancel out the inwards and outwards accelerations. The difference between those two is cant deficiency. This is important. Cant deficiency is how much lateral force you choose not to balance. And there are lots of reasons to do that, because actually you don't want to have perfectly balanced forces, because not all your trains go at full speed. You have trains going at different speeds, and actually you want a little bit of cant deficiency for improving curving forces. There are reasons we do that. But if you
are experiencing the symptoms of cant deficiency, apply to your university philosophy department for a refund for your degree.
There's a couple of stations on the Northeast Corridor where there's a noticeable bank, but also it's a station. So, you know,
which isn't a good idea. You should have separate tracks for the trains. That it's not a good idea to have lots of banking for your platforms. It's not the end of the world, but also it's stupid, and we should build better railways.
So this
mostly when you design this stuff, mostly you're well inside safety limits.
I thought there was only one station on the underground that had a notable bank.
Which is funny actually, because those platforms are also notably banked. So it's meta. That's meta shit you're talking about right there.
Those corridors are too fucking long.
Yeah, I know you had a run-in with Bank Station fairly recently, Roz. It's by the way, I should say, Roz now knows all of this because I sent him with this copy, a 4th edition copy. I'm holding up for no one's benefit other than my friends who are at my exactly. I sent Roz with my only other copy of British Railway Track 4th edition, which I think is the sexiest edition of.
It looks very nice. I read it on the plane on the way back.
Oh, that's, riveting experience. I mean, for me, yes, sure. I'm probably for you. Actually, Roz, I bet you're a pig in shit. Anyway, get this wrong, and mostly it's fine, except where you get it really wrong. Next slide, please.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can tell when I skipped the slide on my own slide deck slightly faster.
No, you're getting, but yes, that is absolutely appropriate. This is in Spain, and you can see, and there's a reason why I want to draw brief on these pictures. You'll notice
this is the thing. That's the conspiracy.
This
is where they learned to do it.
This is a horrible and frightening series of images, but you can see the vehicle rolling over as it comes through the curve. You can see its behavior as it comes through the curve, but also as it hits that concrete wall on the outside, you can see how the body is being damaged as its way around as it's striking things. So these are things that are pertinent.
Yeah, your train becomes possessed with the spirit of "I fucking love walls."
If you look at picture 5 and compare it to the locomotive in the upper pictures, it looks suspiciously the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you have you have a higher center of gravity in the locomotives because they've got lots of equipment in them that goes up to the top of the inside of the vehicle. Whereas you have but also you're balancing that with the fact that they are heavier and they are therefore have less of a propensity to just fly outwards. So there's all these dynamic behaviors going on that mean the different vehicles in a train formation do different things. So if you've got a series of a multiple unit where everything weighs the same, the whole train will kind of do a similar thing. Whereas if you have, in this case, a power car with coaches, or in the case of the crash we're actually talking about, you have two heavy locomotives and a series of fairly substantially lighter passenger cars, then they will behave differently. But also the whole thing, as soon as it hits things or digs into ballast, the whole thing decelerates as well. So the cars further back the train behave differently to the ones at the front. Next slide, please. Here is, I believe, where the crash happened.
Yeah, you had to do some like OSINT for this, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did, and I got it all wrong, and then had to do it all again a minute before we recorded.
This could be wrong. We're really, really guessing here.
We don't know exactly where this happened. This seems to be the good fit, but actually this one's useful for us because it's possibly of this whole stretch of track, which is extremely curvy, by the way, and we'll get to why this is relevant in a sec. This whole stretch of track is extremely curvy. This feels like this is the tightest radius curve that I could find, and it is so tight. Next slide, please. A reminder, when I talk about the radius of a curve is a section of a circle, and it has a radius. Don't laugh at my sketch. Radius. Yeah. And in this case, the radius of this curve is 81 meters. That is insanely tight. Like, that's so tight.
It's like sending it down a right angle.
It's like Hornby desktop layout tight, genuinely. Like, this is such a tight curve. That is tram level tight. Like, the Sandylands curve was 15 meters, or 25 meters even. Like, that's not that much less than this. It's very, very tight. So, next slide, please. Wait a minute. This slide has been inserted randomly.
That's out of place.
So curves. Go on. Scooter, say something about curvy. No, just say something about it.
Move on. That's a later problem.
Yeah. Okay, that's a later problem, everyone. Next slide again. I did some calculations with that curve. So look, it's my tool that I made in Excel when I was a graduate, and it's still.
Is this what you were doing, like pre-recording, while I was talking about jerking off?
Yeah. Everyone was talking about jerking off while I was simultaneously.
I was making a thumbnail about Naruto. I was not talking about jerking.
Yeah, fair call out. So I was doing some sums to just check, like, what are the behavioral parameters for a train going around here? And it's worth saying that if a train derails around...
I also learned here in the second to last word on the heading a new slur for a trans woman who wears a lot of like different fashion.
Yes. Oh, I have to remind everyone, as a track engineer, that's got Roz.
That is a to be clear, the heading, it says clothoid transitions.
Clothoid transitions. It's so clothoid transitions. I have to say, as a track engineer, I spend a lot of time doing transitions. I have to be clear, like
transition leg ratio.
Every curve has two transitions, and I do
things to get dysphoric about.
Straight or curve.
This is having lots of trans friends means that I've become increasingly confused about what my job is, whether it subliminally resulted in me thinking different things. I take the damn pill. Right. So, anyway, so this tool allows me to go, how fast could that train go through the curve? And the cant deficiency is what lets me know the point at which the risk that the train falls over becomes more like 1 than 0. So very briefly, the rules for design of trains in the UK means that all trains are designed to cope with about 450 millimeters of cant deficiency, which is about 18 degrees of tilting the wrong way, ish, essentially. That doesn't mean that they will derail at that point, but it means that they are designed to basically go round a corner way too fast. And that's about above 2 times the speed they should be going around a curve. Again, that's a rule of thumb, not a scientific fact, but about 2 times. And you'll find this because curve derailments, generally it's between 2 and 3 times the safe speeds that the train has gone before it derails. And so that allows me to give an idea of the minimum speed the trains were going at around this curve to derail. And next slide, please. As you can see, I've represented this in an equally scientific looking way of the scribbly notes that I made and then took a photo of on my phone and then put into the slide 5 minutes before we started recording. So assume this curve is, I've just rounded it to 80 meters. For a range of cants, represented here by E, the letter E for elevation. That's not how you pronounce that. It gives you a series of design speeds. So yeah, why not? Fuck it. And that's, so for no cant, 50 miles an hour, we can see there is some banking through the curve. So it's more like the safe speed through here is 20 miles an hour. Possibly it's less, but you could get
okay, yeah. So just like creep around there, you know, like
that's the speed. It's so tight. That's the speed you're going. But you could get a train around there. Probably you could get a train safely around that curve at 40 miles an hour.
Can you put that in kilometers just for the army generals listening?
So in kilometers an hour, that is, where's my design tool? That is 60-ish kilometers. So 60, you could probably get around that curve at 65 kilometers an hour.
Oh, you hate to be looking at the like sort of track speed signal that says 60 probably.
Yeah.
What if this happened because of this, like of miles per hour? What if this is a classic miles and kilometers discrepancy?
Well,
Jesus.
Well, you'd hope not, because if you're going at 60 miles an hour, you're definitely fucking going over the edge.
Yeah.
But the point here is that this train could be going anything up to 60 miles an hour and potentially have got around this safely. So what I'm saying is above 40 miles an hour, above 38 miles an hour, the likelihood of derailment goes from probably it'll be okay to this is getting pretty close to a derailment. So the train could have been going 60, 65 miles an hour around that curve. Now, what fascinates me is this is not the first curve that the train went past. Even if you go back a couple of slides to look at the aerial view, you can see that there are several curves it goes through. But actually, if anyone gets the Google Maps up and zooms right out, it went through probably, 20 or 30 curves by this point, including, by this point, a massive, hilarious horseshoe curve. So for the driver to get up to this speed, this is where the question comes in. So we know it's an overspeed, but how this happened, like how it got to this point, that's the open question. Next slide, please. And so how this will have worked is that the train will have come round the curve. The first locomotive will have managed to pretty much get through because of its higher mass and therefore the behavior of the vehicle such that it didn't go over. The second locomotive did not manage to get through. For whatever reason, that has rolled over. But the lighter vehicles behind have essentially not been planted on the track and have gone over much further. Actually, what's likely to have happened is that the car that went over the back pulled the second locomotive over, and that's why it struck. So if the two locomotives had gone through on their own at this speed, both of them might have got through fine. But what's happened is that as the lighter and therefore more sprightly passenger cars have rolled over as it's gone around the curve, the first car has pulled the second locomotive over. That second locomotive has struck the embankment here and smashed up, splitting the coupling with the first locomotive, which has rolled forwards with the brakes being applied. The passenger cars further behind have slowed down as all this stuff has happened. Therefore, they've not tipped over as far. They've also been slowed down longitudinally as they've dug into ballast and dug into things. So that means that's why they haven't continued to spin off in the way that the first car has. So really, it's the kind of the lighter first car that's rolled over has pulled the locomotive over and pulled the others over, and that's kind of why you get this pretty classical looking overspeed vehicle spread. And this looks pretty similar to, for example, next slide, please.
Ooh, hold on.
Here he is. He's
You're
doing
right there,
it.
Roz?
Yeah. Yes.
He's
So I just had to change a bunch of stuff around on my end.
I see.
Okay.
Sorry.
Heard.
Yeah, so it looks very similar to Morpeth here, which we did that time. Remember, everyone? Because you can see here is the locomotive planted on the track, fine. And behind Roz is going to circle up. There's a black thing up there, which is actually not the locomotive. It's the kind of the little wagon that it dragged around with it, if you remember that episode. But yeah, but in front of that is the locomotive in white. And it made its way around fine. And then behind it, you can see all the passenger cars that have just spread out and scattered, much like what we've just seen in the crash in Mexico.
Yeah, it just sort of drags everything around and like throws it out behind it.
Down the cliff.
Lighter cars spread and scatter. Also, much like next slide, please. Morpeth again. But going in the other direction, where you can see the locomotive come through and the wagon. So you can see the locomotive, it actually fell on its side, but didn't get very far. Whereas all the wagons, all the passenger cars, fly all over the place and demolish that guy's bungalow, if you remember.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode. Go watch it again if you haven't before. I'm talking to you, Mexican Navy senior staff. So, and then also painfully and there are some similarities to. And this comes into the fact that I don't think that this train would have been going at that full speed the whole time. I can't imagine that the engineer, the driver, the engineer, would have gone through that many curves and not gone, fuck me, this isn't right. I'm going to slow down.
Yeah.
Which is where it comes into did they, for whatever reason, accelerate the train at short notice or inadvertently or misjudging which curve they were at, potentially thinking they were reaching a straighter section of track?
I believe this entire section is uphill.
Yeah, so did they? And there is
a pretty strong uphill too. That's why they need all those loops.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And there is after a curve after this, like a curve or two after where we reckon the crash happened. And I have to say, in similar geography, is a straighter section of track. It's not straight, but it's straighter. The curves aren't quite as aggressive.
Yeah.
So is this a route knowledge problem? This is where the open questions come because knowing that the train was going too fast around the curve answers almost no questions.
This is the thing. Those are questions that you need to ask the engineer, the driver, along with other such questions like how long have you had Spanish citizenship? Do you have pronouns?
Are you like Carlos Manso?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Catalonian, are you Basque? Are you?
There's a couple of things to add from the news reports. As passengers that were interviewed have said that they felt like they were getting thrown around in the curves beforehand.
Which then does indicate that it'd been going faster for longer. But to what extent was that the case? Was the driver just kind of balancing, well, I need to go fast to get up this hill versus, so.
With those two locomotives too, is you have incredible acceleration. Both are high geared passenger locomotives that can take off. I mean, they're the same type that's used, literally the same that was on Go Transit in Canada for quick start stop station operation, transit operation.
They're designed to have 12 double decker cars.
I was going to say 12 very heavy cars, and this had 4.
Sort of the equivalent of driving a car that's more powerful than you expect, and it just sort of creeps up at you and understeers and throws the arse out.
Well,
except the arse is a passenger car full of people.
Yeah,
4 cars with 2 locomotives. So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a power to weight ratio. And again, it's
why run it that way?
I can only assume that they were that they are running 1 locomotive dead and 1 locomotive pulling as a backup because of how remote they get. So you've got.
Is it possibly a braking force thing? Maybe.
Doubt it.
No. Okay.
Doubt it.
Head end power.
Head end power's on a separate generator on these locomotives, so it's not like you're.
It's a very good question, Nova, and I was thinking it's a long distance and they just need the redundancy. So
that's what I think it is, because they almost always have 2 locomotives on here. We've seen an SD60 and an F59, 2 F59s, the PHI in this locomotive as we've seen. So the only question is, do they run with both online? And if they run with both online, that easily could explain why this thing went to kind of trundly to, oh my God, we're off the side of a hill.
So you see through this, Scooter, you might have more to add. And I know the next slide, please, will also give, there's more for you to discuss as well. But overspeed, yes, that was a thing that it looked obvious. And I was like, that's my gut feeling is what's happened here. But that only opens up lots of questions, which is why all the conspiratorial bullshit was frustrating, because it was muddying the waters of the discussions that should have been happening.
Yeah, you could be having way more informed conspiracy theories.
Yeah, exactly. The media here has gone crazy, and they're not asking those questions. They're accusing Sheinbaum of taking selfies with victims, and saying that that's parasitic, and they're being really bloodthirsty about this. It's no one's asking the right questions. the victims seem to be suing the government for lack of maintenance, which is interesting. I don't know what do you guys think?
It's interesting, but it's not the right.
Right,
It's not the right avenue.
I thought the
It's
same
not
thing.
relevant. I just don't think maintenance is relevant here.
No,
I just don't think it is.
looking at the images and the slides, like it seemed even better than I expected. Like y'all said, the wood seemed new, the metal seemed like in good condition, like, and like I don't know, I don't know what to say. I think
there might be maintenance problems elsewhere. In fact, I'm sure there are.
There absolutely are.
There might be some rolling stock where there are challenges, although I've not seen any. But certainly, infrastructure-wise, I'm sure there are problems. But I don't think there is the HST, exactly. I don't think there is a problem. I don't think those are in any way contributing factors here.
No track damage that is noticeable in any picture, and there's one included that is the rear of the train from looking about 300 feet back, looking at the rear of the train derailed. None of that track's injured at all. And in every slide we posted, none of the tracks injured. So for it to be track maintenance, the only thing that I could even think of is the super elevation. Even that's looks okay in the pictures.
I mean, it had to be. This is designed for oversized, huge American top-heavy rolling stock. So of course, they couldn't do much super elevation. Yeah,
there are freight trains that went across this, and those would absolutely roll.
And I've done the calcs for minimum and maximum super elevation, and it doesn't make much difference to the speeds involved, to be honest. So they could, and this, it doesn't look like a twist fault issue here. Again, there's no obvious geometry defect. It just doesn't think so back there.
It's really disappointing to read the news that they're suing for maintenance. Like, that's really fresh news.
Well, and it's from an attorney that seems predatory.
Yep.
And that's just unfortunate, because they will have something to sue about, I'm sure. You know what the worst part about all of this was for me? Like, personally, not like the 14 people died, that's the worst part of this. But like, I was in the middle of enjoying myself when the news came of this on another episode.
More of that.
I was writing about how we almost nuked the United States. We've almost nuked ourselves multiple times. And literally the news came out, I just closed the PowerPoint and was like, nope, that's not happening for a while.
Well,
yeah.
I was like listening to like a talk by the Zapatistas, and they were going like, yeah, all these projects fucking suck, and then this happened.
Oh,
it's like, damn.
Oh shit.
I'm scared that there's gonna be a couple more of this, because we're, again, for no fucking reason, rushing to do a bunch more projects. They're trying to do a cable car before the Olympics in Mexico City.
Oh god.
It's not even a bad idea. Like, this place is a valley surrounded by mountains. Like, cable cars could work. I don't know, but I mean, we have one that's relatively good.
Okay, we did lose Nova, so we're just gonna keep going per Nova.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
Oh really? Okay. Oh, that's a shame.
All right. Well, the Mexican Navy gained another angel.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, the thing here is, we got to remember there's going to be an investigation. People are going to try and assign blame, and I think a cautionary tale here is Amtrak 188 at Frankfurt Junction.
Yes. Thanks for nothing, Josh Shapiro.
Yeah. So the long story short here is Frankfurt Junction is a very tight curve in Philadelphia. I think the speed limit is something like 60. Coming southbound, you're coming off of I think 125 mile an hour segment. Coming northbound, I think it's only 80. So there were systems in place to stop you from going over speed around this curve from the north, if you were coming southbound, but not if you were coming northbound.
50 mile an hour.
50 mile an hour. Damn. Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was one engineer who worked for Amtrak. He somehow managed to get through the railfan filter because he was
Oh no.
he was a very safety conscious, very much a someone who was like he posted on, I want to say it was trainorders.com saying,
Oh boy.
hey, I go through this curve every day. If they don't put automatic train stop on the northbound side, someone's going to cause an accident here. Right.
Right.
Yep.
So anyway, there was one night where he was distracted because of reports of, I think, kids throwing rocks at trains.
Yep.
Which is something we do in Philly, of course, if you've watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And so he got distracted and he lost track of where he was. And he started accelerating for the straightaway after Frankfurt Junction. And overspeed, straight off the curve into the yard. Thank God this wasn't full of molten phenol as it usually is. The molten phenol was all back here. And yeah, so the train wrapped around a catenary pole. Most of the cars were intact. A lot of people died. I mean, we'll do an episode on this at some point. But, the most safety conscious guy out there still made a brain fart and still derailed the train because the safety system wasn't in place.
Yep.
And
they crucified him.
yes. Amtrak did eventually install the safety system, but yeah, Governor Josh Shapiro, he wasn't governor at the time. He was like Attorney General.
Yep.
Brought charges against the guy because
more than once, right?
Multiple times.
People were not satisfied with the answer that the railroad had deficiencies. It was just like, let's try and bring criminal charges against this guy. And that's
that's massively my worry is going to be here is that justice will seem to be done if they crucify the poor driver of this train.
Yeah.
And that'll be the end of it. There'll be no inwards looking. There'll be no consideration of maybe we should have one or more signals. There'll be nothing like that. Yeah.
The first thing I read other than it happened was they have the crew and they are interrogating. Not investigating, interrogating. And
I haven't heard a peep about it. Like there's no news about them.
I really hope that was a translation error.
Well,
yeah.
When you had, like this, was your example was about like John Shapiro and Philadelphia and stuff like that. This train is run by the Navy, and like
this is a much worse scenario, I think, for anyone who was involved, who was the crew. I don't think there's going to be like I don't even know where to start there.
It's going to be another update. I can feel it in my bones. We're going to be doing a third episode about this.
Yeah, if they just say, "Well, we got the guy, we put him in prison," it's a complete farce.
Yep.
That achieves nothing. It doesn't do anything.
Well, and if they do the opposite too, we interviewed the crew. They said they were doing the right thing. Okay, it's over.
Or there's going to be like legal battles about maintenance, and then they're going to check the maintenance, and they're going to say, "Well, this track seems okay, so case closed." There's like several avenues and to get to nowhere here.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways. At some point you have to acknowledge the fact that you built a brand new 1907 railroad. Maybe you should install some safety systems.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something pithy but no, and it might be a good idea to have an independent investigating team to at least highlight some of that. But like all the ergonomics, all the fatigue, all of that stuff, it's very difficult to see a world in which that gets highlighted and addressed and considered. But just to reemphasize, it's not just the engineering stuff. There's a lot of human behavior stuff that's really important in these sorts of situations.
Yeah.
And that is just not, I have no confidence that stuff's going to get looked into in any detail whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And not for like racist color grade reasons, but for there are specific political reasons right now that we in this podcast have highlighted why that's not going, there is not an obvious pathway for that information to be made public in any form whatsoever.
Sure.
But generally some racist things, like a lot of conservatives don't care about, instead of saying, oh, maybe we should consider like making trains that go through indigenous lands in a more consensual way, they say Indians don't know how to ride trains. So and that's those are like internally Mexican, like colorism, racism reasons that this might go nowhere.
I think it is. There's also a broader North American problem about railroads is that, the idea is, well, accidents just happen. It was probably human error. Just leave it like that. It's amazing when you sort of consider it compared to like how airlines operate, where people
with a mass publicly funded system of safety infrastructure. Which everyone seems to think is somehow magically privately funded. But no, the state just spends billions and billions on that shit.
Yeah.
I would like to say, like, clearly the train good. Like 200 plus people were on this train. It's like apparently always sold out. Like it would be a shame for them to not learn anything from this and also clip it.
Yeah, and like it's already built. Like the environmental and like cultural damage, it's done. What people, in fact, the complaint about the people who got displaced or like have some cultural opposition to this is that, well, where's the promised development? Where's the hospitals? Where's the infrastructure? Where's the safety regulations and the cross signals and piping? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it was a 1907 railroad, the railroad would have built the hospital because they would have had to.
Right.
Yeah.
For the railroad,
Yeah, just for the railroad workers and everyone else.
But like
my grandfather was treated at the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad Hospital in Clifton Forge.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, one of several hospitals he was treated at. Anyway.
But like, it like order new trains. If that makes you happy, order new trains. It's just would be such a loss to start to back away from doing more trains. And it's, from what I've seen, it doesn't look like they plan to. But like,
no, and I honestly like don't tell shame on, but I think her projects are better designed than this. I think there's an upgrade in like Shimon styles herself as like a more scientifically minded AMLO, and to a certain extent it's propaganda, but it also kind of is true. And the train lanes she's proposed were what we were complaining that they were not doing while they were doing the Thermaya.
Okay, good.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and there's still some problems about, land rights and rushing and imposition. But I have to say they seem to be at least more in demand than this. And this seems to have, like you said, organic demand already. So I'm not a train hater. The worst thing that AMLO did to me was make me a train hater. And I hate to be right about this. I think we all hate it to be right.
We all hate.
Yeah.
I will say that the other thing about most of Scheinbaum's proposed routes is that they are along existing, private railroads, which actually have a lot better safety systems than this thing.
Yeah. And they ordered new equipment for it. Like
yeah.
Like I said, like Doctora Sheinbaum strikes again.
Can we go to slide 31 to close this out?
Oh yeah.
By the way, I've read Sheinbaum's thesis. It's pretty good. People say that shit on her for her doctoral thesis. It's kind of nice, actually. But anyways.
So
she's like an actual scientist.
So I threw this in here at last minute because one of the like last things that we haven't talked about that has bothered the shit out of me in all of this is you can't run trains on railroads like this. And you know, Gareth has said like this is tram track, these are tram curves. You can. This is Amtrak's Southwest Chief on Raton Pass. Very similar railroad. Incredibly similar, incredibly remote railroading. But it's signaled with ABS signals. It has automatic train stop.
Yeah.
They run with dynamic brakes, something we haven't talked about because that's just baseless speculation, but they have the systems in place to more prevent these types of accidents. But it's incredibly tight railroading. It's slow, it's remote, and it's doable.
I mean, Belgrade Bar and Mostar Sarajevo jump to mind as railroads in Europe that in the former Yugoslavia that have extremely tight curves because they have to go up and down a mountain. Standard gauge railroads that are signaled. You know, they're fully signaled.
There are like brand new railroads being built in China, like conventional railroads, which have, you know, horrible hairpins and all the loops and everything. And they also have signals though. I mean,
right.
You know,
but there's like no point to blowing a tunnel through the mountain just because you want to make the railroad seem more infrastructure.
I mean, you can do that.
You can,
and there might be justification for doing that. And it's again, I go to the former Yugoslavia. Croatia's doing quite a bit of that at the moment, which is bypassing some of its old weavy stuff with some bypass straight lines. You can do that, but you have to. You know, there is a cost to doing that, and
you have to justify it. And one train a day might not be worth it, but you can still do it.
I think if they want to compete with the Panama Canal, do the thing they think they're going to do, they do have to build that tunnel.
Like if you're running a social democracy, you got to run a social democracy. You can't halfway. You can't do half and half.
Half-assed.
Yeah, I'm kind of like,
Hell
okay, this has got to be like at least an 80-mile-an-hour railroad the whole way through. We got to have like 2, maybe 3 tracks. We got to build the biggest, most efficient port on each end in order to compete with the Panama Canal. That thing needs to be either fully automated or run with slave labor. It's difficult. It's difficult to compete with the Panama Canal.
Well, I'll tell you what you can do is you list off all the tight curves. I mean, what I'd be doing if I was managing this, if I was engineering manager of this railway line, I'd have a list of the curves, and I'd work my way from tightest upwards and create small, smooth, easing projects for those where it's possible to do so. Of course, the challenge on mountainous grades with diesel traction rather than electric traction is that those curves are there because you need that much length to get up the gradient, and every time you slacken a curve you have a steeper gradient. So that there are this is why you end up having to do the whole job lot in sort of mountainous terrain. Is either you weave the contours or you cut straight through the hill. But yeah, like there are ways to do that, but again I would say there are other priorities, and Scheinbaum has a few of those listed off. I'd say attempting to do a huge amount to make amends for the mess that was Trenmaier should be high on the agenda.
Oh, they're not going to touch that. They're not going to mention it. They're too busy making a giant AI supercomputer.
If Interoceanico was incompetent and inept, Trenmaier was absolutely malicious. But that's see also a former previous episode on that. I wonder who was on top of that. Anyway, Scooter. Thanks for that. A neat way to round off. I think train is good.
Train good,
but ...
Train should be good.
Train should be good. That's a good way to put it.
We would love to have a good train.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I just want my last statement to be: stay informed, don't let this die, and hope and pray that the right answers come through for those that were affected.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the Attorney General's office is investigating, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, at least we just switched from the most corrupt attorney general we've ever seen to like a one that's less corrupt but way more friendly to Sheinbaum. So I think it was an upgrade, but it might mean that we don't get that much info out of this.
The bar is so low.
It's
on the floor.
honestly, that attorney general was worst, in my opinion, the worst appointment AMLO made ever.
Oh,
yeah, because his name was Hertz Manero. He was in charge of Operación Condor in Mexico. Like he was like a straight up CIA asset. I'm Jesus Christ, one of the worst appointments.
That is the official opinion of the podcast.
I mean, he ran Operación Condor. That's Pinochet shit. Crazy that he was the AG, but now we have less respected AG by the conservatives, but it's an upgrade. So help, maybe we get some info out of this. Hopefully.
I'm sure
we get some reforms out of this.
Yeah, I'm sure we will hear about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you guys are gonna get at it about it. That's what I know.
Yeah.
What's the next episode on, Ross?
What is the next episode on?
You can backfill the slide deck later.
Yeah, that's right. It's a news brief, so I didn't even add the concluding side. The next episode is gonna be on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
Listen to Kill James Bond. Listen to No Gods, No Mayors. Listen to Trash Future. Listen to Rail Natter if you fancy that sort of thing. We talk about. I just did an episode on a train crash actually tonight as of day of recording.
And I just released. I'm back to streaming and making podcasts in Spanish. If you want to learn about Mexican politics from a leftist and queer perspective, I'm Fresapatistas con Crema. It's a pun about desserts and being cold and zapatismo. We're gonna hopefully come back this year with new episodes. So, and check out the video I just made on why Mexico should leave the World Cup, because it's gonna be Trump's Berlin Olympics, and we should not support imperialism. That's bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was my commercial.
All right.
Oh, this is a guest-heavy episode. Thanks for being my fellow guest. It was a delight.
Yeah.
Thanks for
having us on.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on doing this so that we can at least attempt, you know.
Yeah.
They're gonna pin all of this on Scooter.
And we want to ask the Spanish ninja that kidnapped November to please let her go.
Let her go. Yeah, she's really, she makes good podcasts, and so yeah, please let her go. We need that entertainment in Britain. It's a miserable place otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I just want to say I have a family. It's a cat, but it's a family.
Gareth has a family. Gareth has a family. I have a family. All right, end this.
All right, that was a podcast.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.